up and good morning, guys? Welcome back to another video. Connor, what do you got, buddy? Want to tell them how that happened? So, one of my girlfriend's favorite animals in the world, and you'll probably see him a lot around the house. Well, here's one right there, another right there. And yes, there's even one in the bathroom that I haven't hung up yet. So yes, she loves elephants, and last night, me and Gunnar were playing with her dog's favorite elephant toy. And we might have had a little tug of war going, and the leg literally, the second she walks by, the leg pops off, and she's just standing there like, really? You guys just ruined the super sweet favorite elephant toy? But I feel like it's not that bad because, well, I got her dog a giant super sweet centipede toy. And you're probably saying, oh, what dog needs that big of a toy? Well, let me just introduce you to her dog, because I don't think she's ever been on the channel. Wait for it. Oh yeah, this horse right here is her dog. Liberty, go get your toy. There you go. Yep. See, that is more your size of toy. You didn't want the elephant anyway, huh? Yeah, you just take that bad boy. There you go. Yep, cuddle with it. Oh, you're out, little girl. Everybody meet Liberty. Liberty the Great Dane. This is my girlfriend's dog. Trust me, a Great Dane was not my idea. Hey Rhino, why didn't you want a Great Dane? Well, this was cleaned up last night. If you let this go for more than like 10 hours, this entire area is covered in giant poop. And I don't know if all Great Danes are this way, but not the most coordinated. But you guys know, I do love all dogs, but I gotta say, this Great Dane here has been quite the medical expenditure. It's got allergies. If you look at it wrong, I swear it just starts to like bleed. It's crazy how sensitive these dogs are compared to a nice hardy lab like Gunnar, huh, buddy? And we just take a second to appreciate how good the truck sounds when it's high idling. Does anybody else have issues with the edge monitor sometimes not coming on? Like, it's turned on, and I think if you touch the screen, it'll kind of boot up or initiate here. Let me see. Yep, there it goes. Whereas I'm pretty sure it's supposed to do that on its own. I mean, I know for a fact that it does do that on its own, but it just seems like certain days it'll just sit there blank until I actually touch the screen. Right now, it is in front camera mode. And one of the things that we wanted to do with this monitor is we wanted to tie in the front camera to a switch. And the way that like a backup camera works on your car is as soon as the camera gets power to it, basically it'll trip a little like relay on your screen saying, hey, there's power coming to this, we automatically switch over, which is what we wanted to do for the Edge monitor. And there actually is a switch mounted down here for the camera, but unfortunately, they don't really have that input ability, or so we thought. It actually does have that ability, but I'm pretty sure it draws it straight from the OBD2 port, which is down there. That's the port that you plug the computer in to get all the info off your vehicle, because when I put the truck in reverse, wait for it, look what happens. Switches over to the front camera. So it's definitely got it built in, but it pulls it directly from the OBD2 port instead of like a manual circuit interrupter. I don't exactly know the word for it. Uh-oh, looks like we got a SCA Performance Dealer Packaged Silverado over there. We know somebody paid more than they should have for that truck. So I just stopped off over at my P.O. box because we have a package, and let me see if I can open this up. So Andrew over at Wrong-Handed Holsters, he does a lot of custom kydex and custom holster work, and I kind of set him up with a little bit of a challenge. I've got this really nice knife that I like to carry. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me, but the sheath that it came with only has a belt loop in it, like a leather belt loop, and you guys have probably seen in plenty of my work videos, when you see more of my butt crack than you probably ever wish, is that I don't wear belts too often. I just don't like wearing belts. So to me, more of like a plastic clip style, kind of like a walkie-talkie, is more in my wheelhouse. So I was actually talking with Andrew for a little while on adding something like that to the original sheath that my knife came with. And well, let's see what we got here. It's a heck of a clip there, buddy. That thing's gnarly. That clip is going nowhere. All right, I gotta remember not to get my finger caught in this thing. And I just realized what else is in the box. Check this out. We've got a super sweet custom work for it wallet that he makes. He makes these really slimlined wallets to put all your credit cards in. This thing is absolutely killer, buddy. Really appreciate it, man. Here's his company, Wrong-Handed Holsters. Make sure you guys go check them out. I'll put a link down in the description, but this thing's super sick. So I'm just getting off the freeway right now, but I just had a new one that I haven't seen yet. I actually saw a guy pull it up on the side of me while driving with a giant iPad to take a picture of the truck And he was a younger guy too, because we've all seen like the grandparents at like a concert or a graduation hold up this giant iPad to take a picture, even though their phone takes better pictures. I've yet to see somebody on the freeway pull out a giant iPad to take a picture of the truck. But hey, if you watch the channel, good looking out. So as you guys know, and something we talked about in the last video, is financial responsibility. And I know I always seem like I have all the answers and I've got it all figured out, but trust me guys, there are some times that I make financial mistakes too. And one of which being, and probably the biggest one of the entire channel, is, well, that big golden turd sitting in the corner over here. So anytime I buy something, one thing I really want to make sure of is that it can pay for itself. Like all of my camera gear, my gimbal, my vinyl cutter, all that stuff like paid for itself in the first week or two, at the latest like a month of when I bought them. That's kind of how I like to wrap my brain around big purchases. Now I know we're not talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you know, $1,000 is a big purchase. And the cool thing about the YouTube channel is, you know all those ideas you had with your buddies growing up that were like, hey, we should go totally buy this would be stupid and funny, is that like you can kind of monetize that on YouTube. And well, one day I was driving and I saw a guy that had a hood stacked Mercedes diesel car, and I'm like, I need to own one of those. Let me figure out what it's gonna take to own one of those. I've got the YouTube channel, it'll do great, and the car will pay for itself. And well guys, I was wrong. Even though this fine piece of German engineering is a beautiful car, it ran a little rough when we got it. And then we ultimately ended up killing it, but you know, we had fun while we did it. But I don't think I ever really broke down the numbers on this car. And well, that's when you're gonna see the car wasn't the greatest idea. And trust me, I realized that. This channel, you guys like trucks. I thought it'd be cool to mix it up, throw in, it's still a diesel, it's got a hood stack. I mean, it sounds better than most people's diesel trucks, but apparently, you know, the channel really appreciates trucks. If there's a truck in the thumbnail or a truck something in the title, the videos typically do better. But it was a risk and I took it. But let's go over some of the numbers of the old Mercedes diesel here. So what did I pay for it? Well, I paid $1,200 for this car. And that's, you know, running and driving diesel Mercedes. But, you know, out here on the West Coast, even junky cars are expensive. So paid $1,200 for it. Was in it another 200 or so bucks for having the hood stack exhaust put on. And then with insurance and registration and all that, let's just say we're in this thing about, I'd say about 1,600 bucks. Now, a lot of the bigger YouTubers, that'd be no problem. You put out one video with the car and they'll probably double the money that they had in it. And well, for us small timers, it's not that easy. We actually got to put out quite a few videos, hope they do well, and then you might break even and your stupid idea was paid for, and then you're good to go. Obviously, from the title of this video and while we're talking about it, the Mercedes was not one of those deals. So I think we got maybe 3 videos, I don't know, there might be 4, but I'm pretty sure 3 videos out of the Mercedes here. And so you're thinking, well, 3 videos, Rhino, that probably paid for the Mercedes. Yeah, YouTube's not that much of a gold mine, you know? With those 3 videos on the Mercedes, because obviously it's not a big, sweet diesel lifted truck in the thumbnail, so not that many people clicked on it. I wanna say we maybe cleared $600 to $700. Now that's before taxes, because yes, you get taxed on YouTube's income, but yeah, I took a pretty substantial monetary hit on this thing. And if this thing was still running and driving in any type of safe manner, I could probably put out a couple more videos and maybe try and stretch it out a little bit longer, but I just don't ever at this point see me getting my money back out of it. Well, kind of. I do have a plan for this, and this might be crazy. I might start to do it and realize it's a horrible idea. I'm gonna back out, I'm not gonna do it. I don't know. But not only do I wanna try and get my money back out of this thing, so if I do it, watch the video, but I've always wanted, and you're probably thinking, why is there a ramp sitting by the car? I've always wanted to drive a monster truck and crush cars. Like, it looks like fun. Now I have, you know, not exactly a monster truck, but a pretty largely lifted truck out there. And I've got a car that's essentially dead to me. So really, it kind of makes sense. And I was actually planning this for the 200,000 subscriber celebration, but I did not anticipate that was gonna happen so quick. But here's kind of my evil plan. And I need some of your guys' help on it as well, because I need to make sure this can be done safely without destroying my truck. Obviously, I've got one car to run over. Now, we've seen from my truck going up the ramp that at the highest point, if we're using the front tire to drive up the ramp, at the highest point of the ramp, which we haven't even gotten to, the truck is just like super unstable, looks like and feels like it wants to tip over, which is no fun when you're trying to climb a car's hood that is actually taller than the ramp. So that's issue number 1. And the real reason that's an issue is because I only have one car. If I had 2 cars side by side to where I could go up forwards over both of them at the same time, wouldn't be a problem. So if any of you guys out there are local and you have a car that you want me to run over and you can bring it in like the next week, let me know. But I did pull the ramp over here for a reason. And I'm thinking I'm gonna back the truck in right now. I'm backing up the ramp and just get a sense of what it looks like here. Now mind you, this is with like no spotters, nobody to watch it for me. I've never driven the driver's side up the ramp backwards, which means I'm gonna be on the high side, which is a lot sketchier than being on the low side, trust me. And we're doing it in the warehouse with like zero clearance. What could go wrong? I don't know guys, this looks super cool, but super sketchy. So you can kind of see a little bit of my dilemma here. Obviously the trunk's a little bit taller than the Mercedes, but these old Mercedes are pretty freaking high off the ground. But we've got another like, I don't know, 16 inches to go there. I think we can redeem the fact that the Mercedes was my biggest financial mistake of the channel and actually possibly make some money off of it by running it over, which who knew? It's funny, all the neighbors are driving by right now just give me thumbs up as they go by wondering what the heck is it that you do in that warehouse? Practice driving on top of cars? I don't know. But let's pull my truck off of here before we fill this warehouse with too many raw diesel fumes. So one thing I like about the fact that we didn't put any type of like wider feet on the bottom of the ramp is that it'll dig into asphalt, which most of the truck shows that we go to are in asphalt parking lots. But this thing was literally, you can see how far it mushed into the bumper of the Mercedes, and then once I pulled off of it, it like sprung back out. And I gotta say, man, these old cars are freaking hardy. Look at, that's just that little notch right there. That's the only damage you see on this giant rubber piece they put on the bumper with having this giant truck mushing into it. So I'm gonna be sad if we actually do end up running this thing. It's a nice car. It's just that we kind of killed it by jumping it. And if you guys missed how I killed the Mercedes, I'll put a link somewhere on the screen here to that video. We actually did take it off-road, and this thing was a beast off-roading. Like, it would just chug up hills. So for anybody that thinks like YouTubers just go, you know, they make a ton of money on their videos, they go blow it on all these crazy nice cars and parts, and it's just this like never-ending cycle of you spend more money, but you make so much more money on the video. Well, while that's probably true for a lot of the really big YouTubers, when you're kind of in our world, it takes really like a real job and real career to be able to buy the parts that you're putting on, to put in the videos that you're gonna make like half or less of what you paid for whatever small part that may have been. I mean, I don't even want to go into the financials of this thing versus you know, what you make on videos of it, but hey, this thing I was gonna build regardless of the YouTube channel or not, because I love this truck, guys. This is my baby. Oh, don't want to touch it too much. It's got a little bit of dust on it. You don't want to rub it into the paint. Bad idea. Oh, and while we're here, we got to add our nice best lifted trophy. You hear that, Carlos? From CaliFest. Over to our little trophy display. So my original plan was Saturday, I was going to figure out how to run this thing over for a big celebratory video. But being that we have a big truck show on Sunday, and this is probably one of the biggest ones that we've gone to yet, I don't want to risk like throwing a big old scratch in a bumper or like chipping the powder coat underneath or something like that right before a show with no time to fix it. So we're gonna put this off till probably next week. But in the meantime, if any of you guys got any good ideas on how to drive over top of said Mercedes back there without throwing the truck all kinds of crazy and all kinds of sketchy, leave them down in the comments. You know, I've got one idea that I think will work, but I'm always open to more, so I'd love to hear what you guys got. Now, one thing I've noticed with my truck, and I'm not sure if it's directly related to the ramp or not, I think it was doing it before we started playing with the ramp, but when I go to shift it into park, it won't fully click into park like right away sometimes. And I don't know if like I've just gone limp-wristed with it or something, but for whatever reason, like it just won't fully go into park until you like almost kind of like give it a little bit of a like wiggle, or I don't even know. I don't know if that's like something in the shift linkage that needs to tighten up. I don't see how it's directly related to the truck being off camber on the ramp. Like I said, I don't really remember if it started before or after I started putting my truck on the ramp. In fact, let's see if I can show you guys on camera. And of course, we all know once the camera turns on, it won't make that problem anymore, but well, see how like there's a delay there? Delay, park. Sometimes it doesn't even go at all until you like really jiggle it for a second. I don't understand why there's that, like, doesn't feel like it's engaging there. Look at, right now it should be all in park. There we go. And I think we all know I'm not a mechanic, so hopefully one of you guys out there is and understands what's going on. But with that, guys, we're gonna wrap up another video. I have to say, I am genuinely excited, genuinely nervous, scared, and I just kind of committed to putting the pressure on myself by even putting this video out there of even contemplating going over top of this thing. So we'll see. We'll see. You guys know I don't like to put my truck in risky situations. I've got too much money and time and pride into that thing to really destroy it. So we got a lot of thinking to do to make this as safe and not hurt the truck as possible. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not subscribed already, please click the subscribe button now. That way you do not miss out on any future content. Don't forget to give this video a like, a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out workforapparel.com, because if there's anything you want in this life, you gotta be willing to work for it. You guys are the best. I'm out.
Damn.